Welcome back to the Smugsy Show. I'm Smugsy, your host, identifying as the Barstool Cougar every Wednesday. We meet here to talk about important things and important people. It's great to be back after a week of vacation. I had a lot of fun, and now I'm ready to tackle the tough questions like, is Kirk Minihane a Ryder? That's what today's show will focus on, and then, of course, we'll be exhausted and need a nap, so we'll snuggle up with the latest Smugsy's ASMR technique. The Smugsy Show is presented by Smug Ciggies, sleek and elegant ciggies made with organic cannabis, rolled in all-natural, locally sourced paper. Look for Smug Ciggies in the pretty indigo and marigold packs, and for a limited time, featuring the 2021 Special Olympics edition, Twisties. For smokers feeling existential dread, twist up a twisty and chill out. Okay, well, like I said, it's great to be back here in the studio with you. Let's just get right to the pressing question on everybody's mind, besides whether or not now's a good time to exit Afghanistan. Is Kirk Minihane a Ryder? And so the short answer is yes and no. Yes, because of what happened at Saco. Going forward, all staff and fans of the Kirk Minihane show will have to sign a special rider. It's pursuant to a mandate by the, boss bitches at Barstool. The rider, it's just your standard, legalese document, assumption of the risk, the warning you might have a nervous breakdown if you're exposed to this show. It describes, if you're a staff person, what mental leave benefits there are, the process if you sort of rotate through with other staff people who go out on mental leave working for Kirk Minihane's show. So there's training involved now. The rider describes required training on how to, you really need to be trained in how to cope with somebody like Kirk Minihane, whose spectrum, everybody's on a spectrum. Well, his is on the one hand, charming, caring, charismatic Kirk, and on the other end, there's lurking, paranoid, monster, manipulator, Kirk. So, he's always doing like his version of Jack Nicholson in the movie A Few Good Men. You can't handle the truth. So because you're dealing with somebody like that, with that spectrum, that range, you need these special, training, and you get coping mechanisms. I'll share some here on the show just to sort of help and show. Like, for instance, you've heard of Life Alert, for older people. If they might be alone, they wear a necklace that they can pull the chain on if they fall, and they'll call the ambulance. Well, this is called, it's Kirk Alert, and you just kind of keep it, tucked right in. And then if, like, something happens and you just pull it up, you pull the string, and you're instantly on mental leave. So that's, it's, if you don't want to invest in the, bling, for the Kirk Alert, you can do all natural, there's ways to cope. The Rico Bosco is a popular one. You just sort of pick a word that's defiant, or you can just use his word. And you just say, well, like when a Kirk's melting down in your face, you just say, pick 'em, pick 'em, pick 'em, pick 'em. So you get the Kirk Alert, the Rico Bosco. There's this Stool La La version, which is a little bit slutty, so we'll save that for another show. But so yes, Kirk Minihane is a rider, because now there is this rider that staff and fans of the show will have to sign. And so why? That's what everybody wants to know. Like, why all the fuss now? Well, yes, in large part it's because of what happened in Saco. I mean, I was at Saco, and I saw, and I know. And so what happened? Well, just to sum it up, this is an actual quote by a Minifan. Quote, "The actual show was shit," close quote. So that's kind of just it in a nutshell. But leading up to Saco, there was, of course, the earlier chapters in the drama was Kirk was out of the popular group at Barstool again. That's what he does. He builds bridges and then burns them up. And sometimes, the bridge burning fires him up and he's brilliant and funny. And sometimes he gets torched. And when he gets torched, usually burns to a crisp everyone who's huddling around him, the 2 or 3 staffers. So, that's what happened before Saco with Peaches. And, Peaches is KMS Justin. He's that earnest, kind of chubby kid. Worked on the Kirk Minihane show as like chief gopher, ball washer. Well, we here on the Smugsy show call KMS Justin Peaches for a reason, and that is he's a peach. He's adorable. He's the kind of fat kid you want to bake. You do want to make 2 boxes of Kraft macaroni and cheese just to see that boyish smile. Well, Kirk, right before the Saco show, Kirk Minihane on air dropped like one of his atomic bomb assaults, really lashed out at Justin, basically just taking out his frustration that he's not in the cool group anymore and that everyone's abandoning him and nobody likes him anymore at Barstool. So he took it out on Justin, and Justin went out on mental leave, just like Steve, except Justin didn't do it with as much flourish, wasn't as dramatic, but still, it was sad. And so then, fast forward to Saturday, right? Justin went out on mental leave shortly before the show, and I happened to be on vacation and traveling north on Route 1 right around showtime. So I cruised in to the drive-in, and, it was kind of dark. The sign, I think, had a few bulbs missing, and it was eerily quiet around and across the street. The aquatic fun place was closed. Everything was closed. I think I remember things were like kind of boarded up, and then you pull into the drive-in and there's this like kind of chubby kid sitting on a stool looking a bit forlorn, and he reminds you of Justin. And I said to this kid, hey, are there any extra tickets? And he said, go on in. And he just kind of looked depressed. So I'm thinking to myself as I'm pulling in, I'm listening to that song from Barstool Breakfast. It's like by the Natty Roots, I think. Gonna have a good day. So I'm cruising in, and it reminds me of, in the original Star Wars, the bar scene. The Saco Drive-In is the Barstool equivalent of the Mos Eisley Cantina. That place? All the aliens, where Obi Wan kind of sums up the bar and also the Minifans. He says, "You will never find a more wretched hive of scum and villainy. We must be cautious." That was Saco, basically, in a nutshell. I saw like dazed and kind of confused Minifans wandering around. I think they all felt a sense of guilt about Justin, but nobody wanted to talk about it. Blind Mike was kind of sweating through his shirts. The weather, dark, damp, it was a metaphor for the mood. The food really looked good. That was a surprise. But the bottom line is that the Saco show wasn't posted because it sucked. It was terrible. It was, I was there, I saw, it was the worst show I've ever seen, and I'm old. And you know why? Because karma's a bitch. If Kirk hadn't picked on Justin Peaches, he might have had a good show. So he's a Ryder because now everybody has to sign a disclosure. But the thing after the show, Kirk took the whole shitty Saco show out on Cully the following Monday. Brutally undressed him on the air. I mean, the Minifans, they're like masochistic. They kind of enjoy that. Like, it hurts so good for them to hear this kind of undressing of somebody who that they have mixed loyalty to. So Kirk was telling Cully, "You're a fucking snake, a piece of shit, a liar," pretending like his rage was based on what some wrestler said about his wife. But really, it's kind of like High School Musical, except it's R-rated, and Kirk, like kind of an ex-jock, he's unraveling because he's not popular anymore. It's like almost the climax of the tension in the movie. And the Saco show was like so embarrassing. It was so bad. And everybody he works with is on mental leave. So he's really sort of facing, the rubber meets the road. And that's what the Minifans love. They are storm chasers. They love watching him just unravel. Like that sick albino in the Da Vinci Code. I think his name is Cyrus. When he uses the Cyrus with a Cyrus. He performs those sick rituals of self-mutilation. Well, I don't know. That's a little bit like the Minifans, I think. Minifan masochism is real. I think it's even a diagnosis now. So yes, Kirk Minihane is a Ryder because of a special contract clause called a Ryder. So then, though, of course, begs the question: is he a Ryder? Like Big Cat and like Dave Portnoy and like me, and obviously the answer is no. Okay, Kirk Minihane is not like a Rider of Rohan, in like Lord of the Rings, the Riders of Rohan, under the good King Theoden. Yeah, that's kind of like what like the Riders are at Barstool, like Rico Bosco and those guys. So Kirk Minihane, he's not a good king. He's like the bad king. He's like that guy, Denethor. Kirk is Denethor, Steve is Boromir, and Dave Cullinane is Faramir. And Kirk is like that sick bastard who eats that meal while, so he's like king of the crazies. He's not like Aragorn, good king or... So, just carrying out that Lord of Rings metaphor to its obvious conclusion, I would be Arwyn. And can you guess which half is elfin? Leave a comment. So at the next Saco show in October, you will be required to sign a Ryder, but that doesn't make you a Ryder, if you know what I mean. We're just gonna have to keep working on that. And next time we're told just you need to bring your own food, and that is a good segue to this week's Smugsy's ASMR. This week it's camper van ASMR. Autonomous sensory meridian response. The idea is that these kind of soothing sounds cause like a tingling and just kind of a release of just a release of negative energy and just kind of sucking in all the good energy from the world. So just open your minds to it and just listen. Okay, so this is the camper van ASMR, and you can try, like, I'm using this from Trader Joe's, the roasted almonds this week. This is the Happy Trekking from Trader Joe's. So if you have this in your camper van, if you're camping out, or if you're going to the Saco show, and you want to... All right, ready? I totally got this. I got the tingling. I did. I hope you did. Wow. That's the Camper Van ASMR Smugsies. You can find this show and all your favorite Smugsy content at syndicatemedia.net. That's syndicate with a C, media.net. And for now, this is Smugsy signing off. Take care.